Well, in the NBA, we're seeing two-way action, even from the Sharps. The early move, as soon as Cleveland opened up, they laid the 8.5, they laid the 9, they laid the 9.5. It was 10 pretty much across the board, and that's when you started seeing the Indiana money come in. No surprise, Indiana's owned the series. I mean, they beat them, I think, twice during the year as 8-point dogs, 9-point dogs, and it seems that's where the public's going as well. They're taking the points with Indiana, and that's why this line has dropped. So from a sharp bettor's perspective, like I said, seeing a difference of opinion at plus 10 compared to minus 8.5. Rarely are you ever going to see that in playoffs unless there's like an injury and one group got out ahead of the other. Then the books adjusted a little too significantly. So someone comes back and takes the second or third number after the adjustment. So it's rare to see this, but that's exactly what's happening. But like I said, most of the recreational bettors are also on Indiana, and that's what's pushing more pressure on the books to drop this line some more based on what happened during the regular season. Now, Golden State, Minnesota, nothing to report on the side from the sharp bettors. They did steam the total. They went over 207.5, over 208.5. And then this morning they went over 209, 209.5 as well. So they really like the over in that Warriors T-Wolves game. Nothing from the sharps on the side, but this is the most one-sided bet of the two, and that's on Minnesota. After Minnesota advances, they're that sexy team right now that everybody's betting, and it's showing in this game one tonight. A ton of Wolves money on the money line, minus the points, teased. So the night for the books as far as the NBA playoffs will come down to that T-Wolves outcome. And real quickly, in the NHL, Carolina, rarely is the road team going to get this much love from the Sharps, especially since the season series. It's not like they dominated, but that's exactly what you're seeing here. And if you look at the road record, the splits for Carolina, I mean, they've been a team that you more want to back at home, but that wasn't the case. They laid the 120. They laid the 125. This morning, they laid the 130. They also went over 5.5, but backed off once the adjustment was made. That's why you're seeing pretty much sixes across the board. But it's like I said, the Carolina side that's given the books a ton of risk from the sharp bettors, but more than enough recreational early look on Washington that I think by the time this game starts, they're either going to need the sharp side or have decent balance, because it's early out here. It's 9 a.m. on the West Coast, but I can already tell you that Washington side is the most one-sided bet in NHL tonight. It's all on Washington. Washington plus on the money line. Washington parlayed with Indiana. I'm even seeing a money line parlay of Indiana on the money line with Washington on the money line. Both those teams to win on the money line. Seeing a lot of those parlays. So bettors are looking for the score quickly in the late game. No surprise. Vegas getting the money. Vegas at minus 125, minus 130. That was at the opener. Since then, Sharps have backed off, but they did go over heavy when it opened, Andy, at 115, 120, all the way to 125. Books went to 6.5. That didn't stop them. This morning, one of the accounts that only bets NHL, they laid 110 to go over 6.5. So after going over 6 last night at minus 115, minus 120, they came in bet over 6.5 as well. Again, very rare to see that because limits are high during the playoffs. So they're usually able to get enough money down during that first buy order or the second at the most. But having it carry over to the next day tells you they thought that opener of 6 was really low. It should have probably been 6.5 juice to the over, and that's exactly where it sits right now. So the Sharps are on Carolina and Vegas. They're on both overs, but the regular recreational bettors, they love Washington. They're also on the overs. So books will be cheering in a low-scoring game for both of them. But like I said, Washington's what sticks out the most.
Let's talk Pacers and Cavs here. Pacers pull the upset. Now you got Cavs dealing with injuries. What do you make of this game 2 here for Pacers and Cavs?
Well, we all know spot-wise, it's a must-win, huge spot for the Cavaliers. You can't afford to go on the road down 0-2 after losing that first game there. But just because you have to win or a desperation spot doesn't mean you will win. Now, I'm just not sure I trust this Cavaliers team. A lot of people, have been very high on them throughout the year. I thought they were a really good regular season team. but I've seen them crumble in the playoffs a lot, and I expected it to happen here. I was on the Pacers in game 1. I think the Pacers are live again here in this game. I mean, you have a few of the main players for the Cavaliers not around that shoot around today, and very well could miss the game. Mobley, Hunter, Garland, those are all important pieces. For the Pacers, they found a way to transform into last year's playoff Pacers at the right time. They're back, playing with that pace. The offense just looks really good. Cavaliers, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. So I think the market, it was 9.5 maybe an hour ago. It's already dropped down to 7.5 at some shops. I think it's going in the right direction. And Indiana shot they shot I think they shot 50%, somewhere around there. They shot really good in that first game, and it barely squeaked over. I know they play with pace, but I think this Cleveland team could struggle to score. So I'll lean Indiana and Cavs team total under.
Love it. Love it. Timberwolves and Warriors. Listen, I think this is a rough series for the Warriors, but then again, I thought it was going to be a rough series for the Nuggets. then they go out and win the first game. I was talking with Gianni, the last 4 NBA games, the road underdog has won outright. So what do the Warriors do here? Are they able to take care of the Timberwolves, or is this just Anthony Edwards time?
Yeah, this is a tough one. You mentioned that Nugget situation yesterday. I mean, this is almost the same. Golden State coming off of a 7-game series. Meanwhile, Minnesota is well rested. They only played 5, and they're out the house here. Minnesota should be able to take advantage, and in theory. But how much do we trust them? When I look at this Minnesota team, they were playing good basketball at the end of the season. My personal opinion, and you guys can disagree. You guys know what team I'm a fan of. I think that the Lakers were a little banged up. Luka, Reeves had an injury. LeBron had injuries. I think Minnesota was able to take advantage of that Lakers team. All year long, Minnesota hasn't been good in home favorite role. Golden State has been great as road dogs. So seeing them catching 6.5 points, I mean, this Golden State team is just like the Nuggets, like championship caliber players in, a team. I have a hard time going to the window and laying 6.5, regardless of the spot for Minnesota. So I think Golden State can hang in this one, and the market pushing the total up. Actually, I'll leave that alone. But I'll ask you this, Andy. You're the prop guy. What about what about Naz Reid? He's done pretty well versus Warriors team. I want to say he's gone over his points plus rebounds every single game versus them. He's averaging closer to 20 on the season. And you never know. Rudy Gobert could get played off the floor. He's hit it in 3 out of 5 playoff games so far. I'm liking Naz Reid, 15.5 points and rebounds.
You're right. It does come down to Rudy Gobert. They're hand in hand. It's like they both don't go over. It's like if Gobert gets in foul trouble or is worthless on the pick and rolls, or is dropping the ball every time Julius Randle throws it to him, which is one of my favorite dynamics when Rudy Gobert drops the ball when Randle throws it to him. The look on Randle's face of just sheer disgust.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if Gobert gets played off the floor, it's Naz Reid over, and it's not even going to be close. Like you could over 3-pointers, over his rebounds, which I think are like 4.5, over his points. And he has a really good track record against Golden State, like you said. I like it. The other nice thing is on the domestic ski, you can live bet these props. And those are really, really powerful. If you see Gobert struggling and like Naz Reid has only played a few minutes or hasn't even come into the game yet, that's an absolute fire away on the live. I'm with you. I love Naz Reid. I can't believe he's kind of become the player that he's become. I mean, this guy's a legit weapon for the Timberwolves. So I like him in this series. I like him tonight. I think you're spot on with that one.
One more thing, Andy, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I know I'm not as long-winded as Adam, so I might have a couple more minutes.
Shots fired.
But what about also, I was considering you said you love Naz Reid, so that makes me feel more confident. But what about DiVincenzo? He used to play for this Warriors team. Like, there's those revenge games when he comes back and plays against them. He's played really well. He's been getting the volume, like 13 shots, 12 shots. He just hasn't been making them. I think he'll get volume tonight. And I believe his points were 9.5. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. For me, I want to see it first. He's definitely in a little bit of a slump. I just want to see I just want to see it once for him to break out of it. So it's, I think they've used the phrase on this show before, trying to catch a falling knife. I like to ride the positive trends. I don't like to try and catch a guy when he's coming out of a slump. So me
Makes
personally,
sense.
my betting style, I just want to see it one game. Now, if he has that big game and you see that confidence come back, yeah, he's a
There
play
you
on
go.
for the rest of the series. A couple free plays before we bring on Carmine. Ski brought up tennis. Take a look at Jordan Thompson over Impechi Perico. Both really good servers. Thompson, much better movement. They play on clay, pretty slow. The points are going to be longer. Impechi's going to be just a little bit bigger and a little bit slower. So we like Jordan Thompson. It's a little bit juicy. Doesn't matter. Take it. And then golf, take a look at Russell Henley, top 20 at minus 105. This course screams Russell Henley. It's not very long. It's short. The greens are small but receptive. Russell Henley's not that long off the tee. It doesn't matter here. He's going to flourish. This is a no-cut event. It's a short field. There's only like 72 golfers. So to get him in the top 20 at minus 105 is an absolutely fantastic play. Padres in the Yankees. King for the Padres been really, really good. Schmidt for the Yankees. Bad first two starts, but solid outing. Last game. How do you see this game?
Yeah, so I did a video yesterday just talking about this matchup for yesterday's game. And I'll say what I said yesterday. Again, the Padres are such an intriguing handicap because the books had to discount this team about a week and a half into the season because of injuries. So Jake Cronenworth goes down. Jackson Merrill goes down. Those two players are, I mean, especially Merrill is just an elite player at this point. You had to sort of discount this team. Then they have all the pitching injuries that they came into the season with. Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, Matt Waldron went down early into the season. And this team has done nothing but win baseball games. They're now 23-11. I believe it's the highest win percentage behind the Dodgers. We all know the Dodgers are the elite team in Major League Baseball this year. And so, but Andy, they still hold it against the Padres for being banged up. And yet we're a month in to this team being like the team that's on the field. That's what I talked about yesterday. I couldn't believe the Padres were as big of an underdog as they were in that game. And of course, what did they do? They found a way once again to win the game. You would have cashed at a nice plus money yesterday. Now, today's price isn't as appealing. You're looking at like minus 105 both ways. At least it was earlier when I checked. But still, like the trade-off here today is you're getting the far better starting pitcher. Michael King, he was part of the Juan Soto trade. So, he was a former Yankee, came over when they traded for Soto. He's kind of emerged as like a legitimate starter in Major League Baseball at this point. I don't know if I'm ready to call him an ace, but he's got very good numbers. 1.01 whip, a 191 batting average against, was very good in the playoffs last year for the Padres. He is such a better option than Clark Schmidt right now. As you mentioned, he had one good start, but this is a guy that got his season started late with an injury, really collectively hasn't looked great. 5.57 ERA, 1.43 whip. They actually pushed his start back. So over the weekend, he kind of had some soreness in his left side. He wanted to pitch. Yankees were like, "Now let's pump the brakes and push you off a couple of days." But his injury, Andy, was a right. It was like tendonitis in his right arm. Now he's got an injury on his left side. I just try to read the tea leaves a little bit. That's just not great. It sounds to me like he could be overcompensating a little bit for the injury. Maybe the injury isn't fully healed. These are the kind of things that I've noticed watching baseball long enough where they end up on the IL. Like they get blown up and then a week later they're back on the IL.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, those tea leaves you can read the tea leaves sometimes with some of those injuries. Absolutely. Giants and Cubs. Cubs, big favorite. You know what's interesting? Both teams, I think they have the same record, 22-14. Cubs are first in their division. Giants are third. You just happen to be in a better division. Cubs, big minus 165 favorite. Cubs won the first game of the series 9-2. Got Verlander pitching for the Giants. Who you like today?
Yeah, that might be a historically good National League West, too. That's a topic for a different day, but that is a loaded division. But, Andy, the Cubs have played the toughest schedule in baseball to this point, so you can make a case both ways. The Verlander thing is super interesting to me. Like, it's so interesting to me when these veteran guys that are, like, probably Hall of Fame guys get to the end of their career, and it's like, and we're still betting on them like Verlander. It goes one of two ways. One, for a while you have to pay for the name, and it's not worth betting on a guy like Verlander because you're paying for the name of what the guy was in his prime. But right now the market has like gone the other direction on Verlander a little bit, got off to a little bit of a slow start. And I'm seeing a price here of like plus 145. And now I'm looking at it like, okay, you might not get Verlander like Cy Young Verlander, but this is still a veteran guy. His numbers are pretty good. He's not giving up a ton of hard contact. Still, the strikeouts are okay. He started to pitch better. And this is the kind of guy that I'd want to have at Wrigley Field against a Cubs lineup that's been like pretty much hitting everyone. Give me the veteran guy that kind of knows how to pitch in and out of these situations at this price, right? Which is clearly inflated at this point. This, even from where this opened this morning, the Cubs are now like a minus 160 favorite with Colin Rea on the mound, who, you know, he's got an ERA of 1.46, a whip of 1.05, but I can just about guarantee there's going to be regression there. There's no way that he is keeping those numbers what they are over the course of the season. And then you want to look at the potential big advantage here for the Giants. They have a pretty considerable bullpen edge. Like, I love this Cubs team. I want to preface that by saying I'm very high on the Cubs, but if I was to point out a weakness, it's their bullpen, without a doubt. And the Giants right now, number 2 in the league in bullpen ERA. Do I think they're the second best bullpen? No. But do their peripherals rate out like top 10? Yes. Like, they're probably a top 10 bullpen, and that is a considerably sort of better rating than where I have the Cubs from a bullpen standpoint. So what you have to ask yourself, are the Cubs going to come out and just rock Verlander? I don't, you know, as hot and as good as the Cubs have been offensively, I don't think they are. I think Verlander's done well enough where he can navigate 5 or 6 innings. Could the Giants turn around and lay into Rhea? Maybe, because he's probably got it coming for him at some point. At this price point, plus 145, you can only look at the Giants.
I think they are a popular bet. I'm taking the same approach with this one, and this is up on the WagerTalk site in the free play section, and it's also a client play at 3%. So you're getting one of those from me here. I'm taking the same approach I took with the Florida and Toronto game, and looking at some analytic numbers and looking at the fact that these teams have not played for a while. Both clinched their series in 5 games. They've had 5 and 6 days off, respectively. So I always think the first games of a series is not so much a feeling out process, but one in which we see some goals. In the first round, 6 of the 8 games went over the total in the first game in game 1, and the other 2 games had 5 goals in each of them. You look at these 2 teams, Andy, and the home team won all 4 games during the regular season between these 2. But these were the XG numbers in those games in all situations: 7.13, 5.95, 6.14, 8.13. They generated a lot of scoring in those games. And then in the playoffs, Carolina has generated 22.51 XG across their 5 games, which is an average of over 4, of course. They've scored 19 goals. Washington's pretty much matched their XG, which is expected goals for those of you guys who aren't familiar with that term. 18.75 XG created, 18 goals scored against the Montreal Canadiens. This is one in which I like the over in this one, but it is not going to frame the way I think the series will go, much like the Toronto one. I figured it would be a high-scoring game, but I'm going to draw a line through that game because I think Florida will eventually win that series. Putting too much stock in game 1 of any series, in a 7-game series especially, can be a money burner. So watch the first couple of games, get a feel for the series, and then bet accordingly after that. But I do like the over 5.5 minus 125 here. I am challenging you in August in Vegas during football contest season. Sign up to it's 40 Celsius, which is like 104 Fahrenheit. 1 set. First one who doesn't keel over.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's
see if we can ask Art to set up a court in the sports book and people can bet on it live. Let's do that
yes.
as a gimmick.